On August 2nd, 2015, a 911 call rang through the early morning hours in Walburg, North Carolina. It was a man who said he just might have killed his daughter's husband. Tom Martens called police, saying his son-in-law, Jason Corbett, was clinging to life, if not already dead. Hi, I'm Denise with Fascinating Cases. A recent Netflix documentary called A Deadly American Marriage took viewers by storm. It covers the death of 39-year-old Jason Corbett, who died at the hands of his wife Molly and his father-in-law Tom. Jason's two young kids are caught in the middle. Molly and Tom say it was self-defense. Jason's family say he was defenseless and he was beaten to death. Let's get into the details. Jason Corbett lived in Limerick, Ireland, with his wife Margaret, who everyone called Megs. The couple married in 2003 and had two children, Jack and Sarah. Friends described Jason and Megs as two people who were truly meant for each other. Their union was unfortunately short, though. When baby Sarah was just a few months old, Megs died from a severe asthma attack. She was rushed to the hospital, but it was too late. Megs died in November of 2006 at the age of 30. She basically couldn't breathe. Jason was devastated, and he would write his wife letters and leave them at her gravesite. Suddenly, he was a single father with a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. But he knew he had to carry on. Jason needed help raising his kids. He was a businessman who worked in the packaging industry, and although his family tried to help as best they could, especially his sister Tracy, Jason decided he needed to hire a full-time nanny. And that's when Molly Martens entered his life. Molly was born in 1984 in Knoxville, Tennessee, to Sharon and Tom Martens. Tom was an FBI agent for 30 years, and Sharon was a mathematician. Molly liked to read and dance, and she even considered a career in medicine, but she dropped out of college after only 1 year. In 2007, Molly dated Keith McGinn. Molly began to work with children, which is something she wanted to do, and she did warn Keith before they got too serious that she did suffer from depression, and she was bipolar. Keith decided to support her. Eventually, she could no longer work. She tried to stabilize herself with medicine, but sometimes she would just soak in the bathtub and cry. The couple did get engaged, and Molly suffered a miscarriage, which devastated her. She spent some time in a psychiatric hospital in Atlanta. And afterward, she did return to Keith, but told him that she wanted to nanny in Europe somewhere. He didn't think that was a good idea because Molly was unstable. Regardless, Molly answered an ad for a nanny in Ireland. It was a position with Jason Corbett and his two small children. Molly left for Ireland, and Keith never saw her again. 24-year-old Molly settled into Jason's house quickly, and she took to the children right away. Jason was unaware of her mental health issues, but he saw how happy the children became under Molly's care. They even started calling her mom after a few short months. And Jason was becoming happy too. His family noticed him smiling more, and they soon suspected the relationship was more than just nanny and employer. The two became romantically involved. And at first, Jason was cautious. He wrote a letter to Molly saying they should slow things down because of the children. If the relationship didn't work out, the kids would be devastated and lose another mother, something Jason didn't want to see happen. But Molly persisted, and the two eventually got engaged. So there was a wedding to plan, and Molly wanted to do it in the United States. She missed home, and Jason agreed. He was able to get a job transfer to the United States, so he moved the family to Walburg, North Carolina, a suburb of Winston-Salem. After they settled in, a June wedding was planned in 2011 in Molly's home state of Tennessee. Jason's family flew in from Ireland to attend. But that's when red flags started emerging. Jason's sister Tracy said the Molly in Ireland was very different than the Molly in the United States. The Molly in the U.S. would stay in her room, and she was rude to anyone around her.
She stayed in bed, curled up in a ball, didn't come out and socialise with anybody.
Then, on the wedding day itself, Molly started spewing lies, unnecessary lies.
One of the bridesmaids told us before the wedding that Molly had told them that she had been friends with Mags, Jack and Sarah's mother, before she died of cancer. Mags didn't die of cancer, she died of an asthma attack.
A friend of Jason said Jason looked too unhappy for a groom-to-be, and he told Jason it wasn't too late to call the whole thing off. But Jason went through with it. The lies Molly told really surfaced more. Apparently, she was telling neighbors she was the one who gave birth to Sarah. And part of the agreement when they got married, Molly believed she would be able to adopt Jack and Sarah. But Jason kept putting her off, and his sister Tracy explained why.
She waited until just before the wedding, and then all these stories came out. So when we spoke, he said he just couldn't. How could he go ahead and allow Molly to adopt the children when he had all these issues of trust?
This infuriated Molly. She wanted the kids more than she wanted Jason. She knew if she couldn't adopt them, Jason could take them away at any moment. And as the years went by, the marriage deteriorated. Jason put on weight because he was unhappy. And according to neighbors, Molly would call him fat and belittle him in public. The marriage was not working out. According to emails between the two, Jason was searching for ways to make Molly happy, but nothing was working. Finally, according to family, Jason wanted to take the kids and move back to Ireland, and Molly would have no rights to them whatsoever. Then, on August 2nd, that 911 call rang through the night.
What's going on there? My daughter's husband, my son-in-law, got in a fight with my daughter. I intervened, and I think he's in bad shape. We need help.
Molly's parents, Tom and Sharon, were at the Corbett home sleeping over for a visit, and that's when all hell broke loose. According to Molly, Sarah had woke up from a nightmare, and she went into the bedroom of Molly and Jason to wake them up as well. And this infuriated Jason. A fight broke out between Molly and Jason, and it became physical. Tom Martens heard the commotion and went to his daughter's bedroom to see what was going on. Sharon, her mother, heard it too, but she decided she was just going to go back to sleep. According to Tom, Jason was strangling Molly, and he intervened with a bat, hitting Jason so he would release Molly. Jason went down, and Tom called police. Authorities arrived to a bloodbath. Jason had been beaten to death. Tom and Molly are brought to the police station and questioned extensively. Molly and Tom had their story straight, saying they acted in self-defense, that Jason was about to kill Molly. Molly says Jason was violent in their marriage, and it came to a head that night.
He choked me. Couldn't shut up. And he screamed.
So I opened the bedroom door, and he's got Molly by the throat. And I hit him with the baseball bat.
Tom is coming off as very calm, and maybe that's due to his training as an FBI agent. But investigators soon realize the story that the Martens are telling doesn't match up with evidence at the scene. There was blood everywhere. A concrete block was full of blood laying on the floor, and a metal baseball bat was propped up, and it was full of blood as well. During the interviews with police, Tom and Molly are photographed. They don't have any bruises, marks, or injuries on them at all. Molly is worried that she will lose the children.
You guys are legally married? Yes. Did you adopt one of the children? No. Then that's a real possibility.
4 days after Jason's death, both his children are interviewed by a child social worker. Both appeared to back up Molly's story of abuse.
What did you flush? What did you do? Punching, hitting, pushing.
But Jason had made it very clear if something happened to him, he wanted his sister Tracy and her husband David to take the children back to Ireland. Molly and Tracy went to court over who would keep Jack and Sarah. And when the paperwork was put forth and Jason's will made known, Jack and Sarah are given to Tracy and David, and they would go back to their homeland. Molly is allowed to say goodbye. And this is sad. Molly was really the only mother they had ever known. But Tracy, Jason's sister, said Molly should have no rights to the children because she killed their father. According to the autopsy, Jason had numerous blows to the head by a brick and a bat, too many blows to count, and all in the same spot. He died of blunt force trauma. He was hit when he was down, according to evidence at the scene, like much lower marks on the drywall where the bat would hit. Jason also had no alcohol in his system, even though Molly said he was drunk. But he did have a sedative in his system called trazodone. Molly and Tom are arrested and charged with second-degree murder in January of 2016, 5 months after Jason died. Meanwhile, the children are adjusting well in Ireland after extensive therapy. They're interviewed again, and this time, their story changed.
What did Molly say?
We were going into an interview. She was saying a lot of making up stories about my dad, saying that he was abusive. And she started saying, if you don't lie, I'll never ever see you again.
Jason Corbett believes the children had originally been coached by Molly, but now they were telling the truth. The trial of Tom and Molly began in July 2017. The Corbetts came in from Ireland to attend. Prosecutors say Jason was beaten to death and his head hit repeatedly in the same spot, crushing his skull. Tom and Molly were virtually untouched. And surely, if they had been in a self-defense struggle, there would be plenty of injuries to show for it. Prosecutors called on blood splatter experts to testify. The experts would say there was blood splatter on the bed, and that's where the first blow occurred. Jason was hit on the floor when he was no longer threatening. This was evident by the blood splatter evidence and the marks on the wall down by the floor. They also said Jason had some blows delivered after he was dead, as if Tom was standing over him, hitting him. The defense points to a red mark on Molly's throat, proving there had been a struggle. And medical records had indicated that Jason was stressed out and angry 2 weeks before he was killed. The court did not allow either of the children's statements as evidence. The jury found Molly and Tom guilty of second-degree murder, but things got more complicated. During a media interview, the jury foreman said the jurors had talked about the case privately before the trial was over, and this was against the rules, and lawyers for Molly and Tom demanded a new trial. The trial judge threw out that motion, but the appeals court decided that they would hear arguments from both the defense and the prosecution. One argument was that statements from the children should have been included at trial, Jack and Sarah saying they witnessed abuse, and then testimony that they recanted. In March of 2021, a new trial was ordered for Tom and Molly, but they made a plea deal instead. In October of 2023, Molly pled no contest to volunteer manslaughter, and Tom pled guilty to voluntary manslaughter. They were sentenced to 7 to 30 months in prison, with time served being taken into consideration. On June 6, 2024, both Molly and Tom were released. Since the death of Jason Corbett, the two spent just over 6 years in prison. Here's what I think happened. I do think Molly was a deeply disturbed woman and a compulsive liar. Why would she say she knew Megs, and on her wedding day to boot? Why would she lie and say she gave birth to Sarah? I think she desperately wanted to be a mother, and after her miscarriage, she needed to get away, and she went to Ireland. And I think she did love Jack and Sarah, but not so much Jason. Maybe she thought he was just a safe place to land. During the marriage, she heavily focused on adopting the children, and Jason was reluctant because he was catching her in lies, and it made him question her stability. He probably realized all she cared about was his children and not the marriage at all. And once the marriage deteriorated beyond repair, she put a plan in motion to gaslight Jason and make him appear abusive, drunk, and a bad father. She secretly recorded him in the home and in his car. And she goaded him into anger, I think. She pressed his buttons to make him look volatile.
This
said, I'd like to have dinner with my family. I'm talking to you. I shouldn't have to say over and over. I shouldn't have to say, Molly.
Can you guys get out the stuff for pain?
No, I'm see, here you go again. I'm talking to you, and you're still I'm talking about something else.
Jack found the device in Jason's car, and he showed his dad. It was the last straw. I think Jason was planning on leaving with the kids, and Molly knew it, and she had to stop him. I think the night Jason was beaten, Molly arranged for her parents to visit. Jason had no idea they were coming. They were there to help Molly carry out her plan. That's what I believe. Molly made the group mojitos, and I think she put some of her sedative, trazodone, in Jason's drink to dope him up, make him more defenseless. Then she pounced. I think she hit him in the head with a brick, which was weirdly at her bedside. Then her dad came in with the bat. Jason, already hit, tried to fight as best he could, but he was at a disadvantage. He was beaten when he was down, and even while he was dead. They kept hitting and hitting and hitting. Sharon Martin heard the commotion, but she knew about the plan, and she decided she would stay away. She wasn't even questioned by the police. And supposedly, this fight started because Sarah woke up her parents after a nightmare, and Jason got mad. So Sarah was up. Did she see her father get irate, or was that a lie, and Sarah wasn't even involved at all? 911 was called. Tom was calm, and I think they faked giving him CPR. The kids originally were coached, I believe, by Molly to say exactly what she told them to say. Your dad is bad. He was abusive to mom, etc. They were going to take you away from me and make you leave the United States. The kids, once back in Ireland, out of Molly's control, I think they told the truth. And Jack did tell the truth. According to the Netflix special, A Deadly American Marriage, Molly would get angry at the kids if they expressed love for their dad. One time, she tore apart Jack's room because he said, "I love you" to his father. Jason saw the red flags and knew not to let Molly adopt those kids. If anything happened to Jason, he wanted his kids to go to his sisters, and thankfully they did. I do think Molly loved the kids, but I think she was an unstable liar, and I think she grew to hate Jason. Was Jason choking Molly? According to defense lawyers taking part in the documentary on Netflix, she was choked. They pointed to this picture showing what appears to be a gouge mark on her neck from a fingernail, like she was digging to get his hands off of her neck. Also, something else interesting, the defense also said that there was urine in Molly's pajamas. And that's because when a person is choked to the point of passing out, the bladder is released. This is interesting, but maybe after Molly hit Jason in the head with a brick, he was still alert and he was able to get his hands around her neck and squeeze. But he let go after a couple of hits with the bat. I think it was planned. Little did Molly know, with Jason dead or alive, she wasn't getting those kids. Is 6 years enough in prison for those two? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments and I'll get back to you. I appreciate you watching this video. Like and subscribe, and I'll be dropping another one real soon. Thanks again. Bye.